Okay, everyone. This is a small group, so I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I did the last time. I'll throw out some information. I'm going to give everybody a sheet with lots of resources that you can go look at. In fact, I'm going to put that in the chat right now. You can download it from here, or I'll also email it out to everybody that attended either seminar. And then we're going to go through a couple of those resources and just kind of give you the overview. I won't give you the exactly step-by-step process, but just to get you kind of rolling. We'll cover both being a chair in general for a contest. For those of you who aren't familiar, I know some of you have not been, and in fact, there's Vera, maybe have not chaired a contest or even been really involved in one before. And then we'll talk specifically about the additional issues when you're doing a hybrid contest. So let me start out with a little bit of an overview here. So how are you going to be a contest chair for a hybrid contest? There's lots of information out there about being a contest chair, but adding the hybrid issue just makes it a little more challenging. Let's see if I can get this to. It's just gonna be one of those days when things don't work. The biggest thing, the main thing that I can tell you that's going to make your life easier is start early. Start now for any of the area contests. It's not too early, and it will make your life much more pleasant. The first thing to do is to get your team. You need 3 main people to help you out. You need a chief judge, a contest master, and a Zoom host. Those are going to be your 3 main people. I got to move the faces over here because I keep looking over here to see everybody's faces. Once you've done that, they can get started on their little pieces, and you can take a little more time to do some of the other things. The next big thing, and this has always been an issue, and it's going to be a little bit harder now with hybrid meetings, is to find a venue. You had to find one before that had the seating, access to bathrooms, and all that stuff. But now we need one that's got good Wi-Fi access. A large screen is almost a necessity, and some kind of sound system is a plus, so that people online can hear people in the room and vice versa. So that's something we never had to worry about too much before. Later on, you can start thinking about things like refreshments, getting your minor functionaries, the sergeant at arms, your timers and ballot counters. Usually the chief judge does that. We'll talk a little bit about who's responsible for what. And it's good that Lori Luna is here tonight, because I'm going to say, get credit for this if you're going to be a contest chair. Set up your HPL committee, right? You got your team, you got your chief judge, you got your contest master, you got your Zoom host. Those are the people you can put on your committee. Start it early. It'll be a piece of cake to finish the paperwork when you're all done. Did I say that right, Lori? All right. Okay, so here's a little simple chart of who does what on that team. If you're the contest chair, you're going to appoint those 3 people that you need: the chief judge, the contest master, and the Zoom host. Then find the venue, and then start appointing other functionaries like your refreshment team. All of this it's kind of a starting point. It might be easier, for example, to recruit a chief judge if you say, I'll help find some more people, because traditionally the chief judge appoints the other judges. But if you got somebody who would love to have you as your chief judge, and they, oh gosh, I'm really busy, I don't know if I can do it, offer to help them out, or get somebody else to help them out a little bit. Ideally, I know some of you guys are area directors, find somebody else who wants to make this an HPL project to be a chair, and you can kind of help them. Again, the more people you've got on the team, right, the easier it is. The chief judge is technically responsible for the other judges, the timers, and the ballot counters. Any help you can give them, of course, they'll certainly appreciate. The contest master is the MC, or the Toastmaster of the contest, and he's got kind of less to do than the others. The day of the contest, he's going to brief the contestants, and then he MCs the contest. There's some leeway for them to improvise. They usually start the contest with a little chat, maybe talk about something going on that day, but then they need to follow an approved script. I'm going to emphasize this because I've been at a contest where the contest master had gotten hold of the wrong script and started out by announcing the judges' names, and it went downhill from there, okay? I'm going to tell you where to find scripts. Use those, double check back with your contest chair and make sure they've got the right ones. You don't want that to happen to you. Talking about the briefing, with the hybrid or online contests, sometimes you may want to do that briefing before instead of the day of the contest. I've had some success with having people log in maybe the day before, just have a half hour so everybody logs in, they test their equipment, you make sure people can get in and out of breakout rooms and that kind of stuff successfully. So you don't have to worry about those kind of hiccups on the day of the contest. Now that last member of your team, who we said is kind of new with hybrid contest, is your Zoom host. They're going to be managing the audience coming in. You're going to have your sergeant at arms to keep people from coming in the middle of a speech when in the physical room, for example, but the Zoom host is going to keep people out except during the time between speeches. There's when people are actually speaking. They're going to manage breakout rooms. So this is going to get tricky. And this just occurred to me, David. How we'll do this how we'll do briefings if some people are there and some people in person and some people are online. That could get a little bit tricky.
Okay, we'll give that some thought.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that at some point. There are issues with the breakout rooms. For example, somebody can put you into a breakout room and you have the option to leave. So for example, for the briefings, when you have your judges or your contestants in the same room, once they're done, they should be able to leave. Then there are situations where you don't want people to be able to leave. For example, an evaluation contest or a table topics contest, right? You want to put people in the room and they stay there with an additional sergeant at arms until you let them back in to participate in the contest. You're probably seeing now that the Zoom host is probably going to need a couple of helpers as well. They may need somebody to be that sergeant at arms off in the room with the contestants, and maybe somebody to focus solely on admitting people. Your Zoom host can decide exactly how they want to do that. So there's lots of just kind of managing of the separate rooms, keeping people muted, that kind of stuff that goes on. Most of the time, you would probably want your Zoom host to manage any slides. If you have someone who's particularly adept at managing slides and speaking while they're doing that, perhaps they could do that. But always have your Zoom host have a backup and be ready to jump in if anything goes wrong. You will probably have to have some people, oops, sorry, hit my mouse. Get back to where I was. You'll probably want to have a couple people in the room also logged into Zoom, again, for communication, so they can maybe help out with some of the issues going on with the online part of the contest. And I should have said this before, speak up with any questions at any time. In fact, there's something in the chat now I see. Lori, always looking for people to do their projects. Encourage your appointees to find a project to complete. If you don't do your HPL project, there's probably another project you can do. Mention a couple of, Aparna, go ahead before.
Aparna has raised her hand.
Yep, Aparna, go ahead.
So Susan, my question here is, how do we find a venue which is suitable for all, especially in a hybrid meeting?
Yeah.
So we have a couple of areas combined, like Dhwani and I, we're planning on doing it together because we don't think we'll have too many takers. How do we find a good venue, a physical venue?
That has always been a challenge. And that's the additional onus of finding, the technology available is going to make it even harder. I would start by asking all my clubs. Are you an area director?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Probably the best place to start is ask your clubs. Do any of them have a space that you can meet in? That's what I'm planning to do, hopefully for my area contest. Got one club that I know has a great room, an easily accessible space, and I'm just got all my fingers and toes crossed. We'll be able to get that. After that, there aren't a ton of public spaces that I know of. You could try the local libraries. They do have some rooms available. The big drawback there is you can only reserve them. Actually, this was pre-COVID. I'll have to go and look. You could only reserve them 3 weeks in advance. So you had to be right there ready to book it as soon as the 3-week time period opened, and then hope that you could get it. Does anybody else have any tricks they have used for finding a room?
Susan, the libraries would differ based on the county. Well,
okay. Yes, I was referring to Wake County here.
So just remember that they would differ based on the county, but most of them you do need that advanced time. And don't forget about local churches. I'm throwing that out there. Don't forget about local churches. You have some members in your clubs, and even some club members don't even think about their churches, but that's an
Mhm.
option.
It's a
We've
good idea.
had
I
luck.
hadn't thought of that.
We've had luck with realty companies too, if they're big enough.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, no, that's not one I would have thought of. There may be, there are some, for example, places, what do you call them? Like, is it the Forum that's out in the Research Triangle Park area? A place that has like spaces.
Frontier.
Frontier, that's the one I was thinking of.
Mhm.
But I don't know about the cost for those. That's been another drawback in the past, was a lot of the places that I found, they wanted to be paid for the use of their space. So that is always a challenge. What we could maybe agree to do is to share any locations that we find, particularly going like from the area up to the division level, where it's going to get even harder to find a spot. Share that with your division director, and they can share that around if you find a really good spot.
Okay, I think I have a few leads here. Thanks, Susan. A
Okay.
follow-up question, the budget, is that something you want to cover a little later, the budget for the contest?
We can talk about it now, basically because for area contests, there is no budget, if I'm correct. And I don't know about division contests, David, is that we have any budget for
Well,
that?
there won't be any money for rentals. That's if that's the consideration. I think
Right.
we've allotted a little bit of money for refreshments.
Mm-hmm.
But again, for those kind of things, we're encouraging donations as much as possible.
Okay.
But we
This
did
is-
not reserve money for space rental.
You mean for the area contest, right? Not the division you're talking about, just to be clear.
Both. We didn't budget for rental.
Okay, no worries. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, David. Thanks, Susan. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good questions. Some more things the contest chair needs to think about. Ahead of the contest, they need to collect eligibility forms and the biographical forms from each contestant and make sure those get handed off to the contest master. This helps the contest master, certainly the biographical forms, helps him do his interviews after the contest is over. It's a good idea to plan at least one meeting a couple of weeks ahead of time with all the major players, just to ensure that everybody's clear on who's doing what, who's collecting the forms, who's getting them to the contest master, who's printing certificates, all that stuff. Just make sure you know who's doing that before the night of the contest. All right, so let me throw in the additional things we have to think about now for venues. You want to make sure that the site has excellent Wi-Fi access. You're going to be having people coming in on Zoom and probably a couple people in the room connected as well. If there's not a good sound system already there, you're going to need some sort of microphone close to the speaker. And this is something I really didn't know until I started digging around in the rules. You need a fixed focus camera that's not right in the speaker's face. That's a little bit further away so you can see more of the speaking area. What it cannot do, there are these nice fancy cameras out there that zoom or move around a little bit. You can't use those. It's in the Toastmaster rules. The reason is because those cameras are not going to be able to predict when the speaker is going to make some kind of movement. Maybe they'll run over to another part of the room, and you don't want them, the quality of their presentation to be diminished by that. So it has to be fixed focus camera. If you have enough equipment, you can usually just use a couple of different laptops. It's nice to have one that's focused on the audience as well, that's turned around facing the audience. It lets the people who are not in the room get a better feel for what's going on in the room. Another thing with your venues is you're going to have probably at least 2 rooms for isolating contestants and for having briefings and for ballot counting. And you just want to make sure that the Zoom account you use is a paid account that's not going to try and cut off after 40 minutes, and that'll let you have co-hosts. So you can have multiple people in the Zoom meeting managing people coming in and managing the rooms. If it's a really large meeting, for example, a division contest, you want to make sure the account can handle more than 100 attendees. We've run into that a couple times where simple paid account didn't have quite enough oomph to handle a big meeting. Any questions about any of that before we go on? Okay. Again, with the additional issues of the technology, check the room ahead of time. I helped do an open house out in Eastern North Carolina a couple of months ago, and they got in a couple of days before the open house and just set everything up to check that you could hear from different parts of the room, that the speaker could see everything, that somebody online could see everything. But don't leave that till an hour even before the contest, because if something goes wrong, you're not going to be able to fix it. So ideally, before the day of the contest, set it up the way it's going to be that day and just check it out. Shouldn't take long. I think we spent 20 minutes on it. And of course, if you have to travel, that's a bit of a hassle, but it's much better than having the headaches the day of the contest. I saw a
Susan?
hand, I thought,
Yeah, Vera.
Sorry, I couldn't couldn't unmute in time. As far as using the paid Zoom accounts, do all of the division officers have paid accounts, or do we just go like fishing for whoever?
I believe that is true, David. Do the division directors all have access to a paid account? David
No,
or
I didn't-
Carlene?
Yes, I'll take that. Yes, they
Okay.
do. However, one or two of them may not be completely set up, but if that's needed, we can work it out. But
Okay.
your division directors do have, and if they don't, they can have access to a paid account.
Okay.
Awesome, thanks.
And if you're going to do that, I would have a chat, maybe at your division council meetings, that you don't schedule your contests on the same day and time, because you can't have two contests going on at the same time. All right.
Susan, is
Yes,
it still a problem if you log into Zoom on a different computer? So they don't have to have that verification code like we've had in the past, that problem where we had to hunt down the owner if they let somebody else use the account?
Oh, that is a good point. I would make sure. That's an excellent point, actually. Haven't run into that for a while, so I'd forgotten about it. Yes, if you're borrowing somebody else's account, make sure you log into it on your laptop or whatever machine you're going to be using before the contest, when you know that the owner of the account is available, so that they can help you. Because sometimes it decides that's a great time to do two-factor authentication, and it sends a text message to the phone of the owner, and they're off somewhere and don't reply, and you can't get into the account. So that's an excellent point. You guys are catching a lot of things that I hadn't actually thought about. Okay, you're going to meet with your chief judge and agree who's doing what. Like I said, there's traditional roles that certain members of the team are supposed to do, but just agree with them. Who's going to find the remaining judges? Who's going to find the timers? Who's going to find the ballot counters? Who's going to provide all the forms? And during the contest, set up a chat. You can use WhatsApp or a text group, just so you can communicate during the contest. Somebody's power goes out and their internet goes down. You've got your judge trying to communicate with judges that are both in the room and out of the room. A text group is a nice way to be able to communicate. Have the judge make sure that he or she knows how they're going to receive their ballots. Are they going to be texted? Are they going to be emailed? How is that going to work? Again, setting all up ahead of time. Chances are good you won't need it during the contest, but good to have. Meet with your contest master. When are you going to do that contestant briefing? If all your contestants are going to be there in person, you can do it the day of the contest. If they're not, I highly recommend doing it the day or two before. Review that script with them. Make sure they've got the right script, agree on any changes, and decide who's going to announce the winners. Are you going to text it to the contest master or give them a piece of paper showing it? Does the area director or division director announce it? You decide who's going to do that, so there's not a lot of unseemly shuffling the day of the contest. Okay, for timers, again, if we've got people online and we've got people in the room, they both need to be able to see timing timing well. So you may want to have one timer show the cards or the lights in the room, and the second timer show colored backgrounds, the online contestants. This is where somebody in the room might want to be connected to the Zoom session so that they can display the backgrounds. If you have, make sure one of your timers is adept enough to do that, that they know how to use the timing backgrounds in Zoom. At the higher levels, maybe division level, wouldn't be a terrible idea to have 2 timers each, both online and in the room. That seems to be what Toastmasters is recommending in some of the resources that I'm going to show you. Okay, now I just sent you that. If you look in the meeting chat, you'll see that I sent you a PDF with a list of a lot of resources, but I'm going to show you some of those now. And I'm going to start out with a spreadsheet that somebody I worked with a while back created that kind of just lays everything out in a really nice fashion. This is available on the District 37 website because he created it back before the district split. Let me bring this up. But it's pretty darn convenient, I have to say. So what you do, you download it, you start it up, and up here in this first, well, there's an overview tab that tells you what each of the tabs are for. But in the project plan tab, on this first row, it says enter the contest date. You put in the date of your contest, and it fills in all the dates for all the other tasks for you. So for example, if my contest is going to be on March 1st, recommended time is when should I have my contest chair appointed, and so on all the way through. These aren't set in stone by Toastmasters International, but they're a good rule of thumb to follow. You will sleep a lot better if you have this stuff done nice and early. I cannot emphasize enough getting started early. So he kind of rolls through all this, and in the owner column, it tells you who's responsible for what. Again, if you agree with your chief judge or your contest master that different people are going to do things, this would be a great place to record it. So again, everybody knows who's doing what. So you've got all your things here, things that you might forget. If you've got an evaluation contest, you select a test speaker, review all your forms. It's just got all the information for all those picky little details that it's really easy to forget. I'm just going to scroll down through there and show you all the stuff that's in there. I'm not going to go through it piece by piece. Then there's a list of here's what you need to do on the contest day. A lot going on. You may forget that. So here's the things that need to happen on the day of the contest. And here they've even got the times. You can plug in your time and it'll back up and say, when do you want people to get there? When do you want the briefings to start? So it's pretty helpful. Here's all your participants. This is a great place to collect everybody's name, phone, email. That phone number is very handy for setting up your text groups. And if you want to grab everybody's email, send out an email to everyone, it's fairly convenient. Do think about who you're going to share this with if you got all the judges' names in there. You might want to take those out and put them elsewhere. One of these things I want to point out at the bottom is the idea of maybe having a utility player or two. Is there anybody who has run a contest who hasn't had somebody not show up at the last minute? They got caught in traffic. They overslept on a Saturday morning. Happened to me. Somebody in the family was in a serious accident the morning I was supposed to be at a contest. And I said, sorry, I can't judge. I'm at the hospital, you know. So have a couple of people maybe designated as backup utility players, right? They can fill in anywhere. Not a bad idea. So next tab is lots of forms. So you can keep track of all the different forms that you have to have for everybody to fill out. It even has a list of which contest you have to have which forms for. Also very helpful. So you can print out all the certificates ahead of time and all the forms. There's a packet that you can get on the Toastmasters International website where you can download all of the forms that you need. So these are easy to come up with. Vera, I see you have your hand raised again.
Yes, sorry, the prior tab that had all of the people, yes. Do you need the same number of judges for an area contest as you do for the other ones like on the division and district level?
It usually gets higher the higher you go. I think it's either 5 or 7 for the area.
Hmm,
And there's the contest rule book that will tell you that.
gotcha.
I haven't looked at
Thank
that.
you.
Um,
I was
so
just
there again,
wondering,
it's a
with
good
all of
idea to
the
have an
ones
extra one.
here, are these for the area one or are these for the division? How
You would
many of
really need, I mean, other than the number of judges, which as I said, gets higher, the higher up you go in the hierarchy. Other than that, you kind of need all those people for both area and division, I would say.
Okay.
I guess usually I've seen maybe 2 ballot counters rather than 3. And maybe only 1 assistant sergeant at arms, but everything else I think you need.
Okay, thanks.
And Susan, some of these are aspirational. The rule book will say you do the best you can.
Yeah.
Hmm.
By the way,
Um,
you won't need a test speaker. That we
right.
don't have
It's
that
only if you have an
contest this
evaluation
spring.
contest. I did arrive at a contest once to find that I was the only judge who showed up. So yeah, you do the best you can. There's talk about pressure. Yeah, that's the way I felt at Parna. Just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the only one responsible for this. So yeah, that's the fall back on the utility player idea, right? Have a couple of people. Now you need to have people for judges who have been officially trained. And I believe that is available on the District 117 website now. I'll show you that in a few minutes. Let me just go back
Well,
through here. It's all right.
the current database isn't yet available. We need to get through the 2 judge trainings. And let me say the word in the street would be, we recommend it and request it if possible. But again, we're not going to have enough trained judges to theoretically cover everything. So you do the best you can do.
Okay.
The rule book doesn't require it. That's a district issue.
Okay.
We've elected to recommend trained judges, but it is not a requirement in the rule book.
Okay. Do your best.
You have another hand up.
I don't know if that's Vera hasn't put hers down or she's still.
Sorry, no.
No, please. I don't mean to, if I'm implying that I don't want questions, please. I want more questions.
Can
Go right ahead.
judges come from another division?
Yes, certainly.
Okay,
Yes, we are all good friends with lots of people in District 37. Yeah,
okay,
recruit them.
good.
Now you may get asked to, help them out in return, but that's fair. So,
Okay,
so
great.
yeah, and I have not looked on the D37 site to see if they have a list of judges. So that might be another place to look for judges. And if we're hybrid, they don't even have the excuse that they
Right.
can't come there. They can do it
Yeah.
online.
Correct.
So
Yep.
that lets us do a little more arm twisting that way.
Yeah.
All right, these are all good questions. Anybody else?
Susan, I got one.
Sure.
I've never heard this, but just want to check with you. So is there anything on the rule or something the district follows in terms of how many judges you have offline, online? Can all the judges be online? Is that okay? Or is it mandatory to have at least 1 offline if it's in hybrid?
I have not seen that discussed anywhere. Have you, David?
I don't know if it's covered in the rule. I think the idea would be, it would be nice to have a roughly equal number. But again, I think we're going to do as best we can at the area and division level. But I don't think there is a hard and fast rule about it. I'd have to go research it. I really don't know.
The reason I'm asking is because if everyone's online, the contestants contesting offline might be at a disadvantage, right? So just checking.
Well, we do ask judges to be as fair and objective as possible,
Yep.
within human reason. But yeah, it would probably be desirable if there were at least a reasonably equal number of each kind.
Yeah.
But
And
I
it
won't lose-
is, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, we'll try to ensure that at the district level, but I think just do what you can. This is the first year we've done this.
It is
So we're-
explicit in the in some documentation I've seen, I can't remember exactly where right now, that you need to instruct your judges not to take into account the quality of the camera or the
Correct.
audio, for example.
Yep.
Because somebody may not have the equipment. For example, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have a nice camera that does background. Somebody else may not have that. You shouldn't take that into consideration. It's kind of hard, maybe hard sometimes not to, but you have to try not to. Okay. Go back to the materials. Here's all the forms you need to have. What I have seen work really well, and your chief judge may be able to figure this out, is to have a folder for each participant. So for your timers, you have a folder with the timing sheets that they need for their contest. For a judge, you have a folder that has all the forms that they need, maybe a copy of the rule book. If you're sending it electronically, you could do that. I would not print out a copy of the rule book for everybody because that's killing a lot of trees, and so on. Then you have a special folder, for example, for the tiebreaker judge, because they get different ballots, and so on. If you have that all arranged ahead of time, it's really easy to get there that day or to send to the judges ahead of time online, and just here's the forms you need and hand it out to everybody. And it works really well. Just some notes about things, materials that other materials you might need in addition to the forms. If you've got someone helping out with refreshments, they'll provide the food and beverages, although they could use a hand maybe carrying stuff in. Trophies are provided by the district at the area and division levels. Correct me if I'm wrong, David. Any certificates?
Yes, but there will only be certain number of each kind.
Right, so just first place.
Yeah,
or
we're just
area
thinking
and first and second for division, or just first place?
Yeah, I think we did first and second for division, but not third.
Okay.
We only splurged at the district level for first, second, and third.
Okay. So you'll want to have certificates for third place. People will want that. Make sure you tell people how to find you. If you're in a big building, for example, have a couple signs to put on the doors. This will be harder, but even something to put outside, like a little stand-up sign like they have outside the polls when you vote, you know, say this way. Or just give people good directions in any kind of thing you send out to advertise your contest. Contest in progress signs for the doors, warning people they aren't going to be let in, for example. Pens for everybody in case they don't bring theirs. You have to have some way for people to time. Check, maybe they're just going to use their cell phone, but make sure they have some kind of a device. Playing cards are really helpful to draw for order. Like I just bring all of one suit and then people can draw the numbers so they know which order they're going to speak in. And let me reference something. If you do the online briefing the day or two before the contest, you can go ahead and sort for speaking order at that point and have people choose. If you're doing it online versus in person, there are tools out there online that will help you randomize picking people for speaking order. So just look for a randomizing tool online. Things like your lectern, gavel. If you have your scripts, make sure everybody has the right scripts. Not a bad idea to have extra forms in case something goes missing. Somebody sets their folder down and it gets lost. Somebody new gets recruited when somebody else doesn't show up, or you need one, you know, if you have to call in one of those utility players. Never a bad idea to have extra sets of any kind of forms. You can always use them for the next contest if you don't use them for this one. And I really like this idea on the last page. Have somebody perhaps noting who comes into the room, either in person or online, so that when you're getting to the end and you want to thank all the dignitaries who are there, you know who's there. Any area directors that are there, division directors, and so on. If you have your program quality director there or your club growth director, you know, have that shown. So that makes it a lot easier for the contest master at the end of the contest. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this for a minute. This is just a handy tool, not necessarily endorsed or blessed by Toastmasters International. It's something, again, that a member in our district wrote up, but I find it very helpful. Now I'm going to bring up, get back here. Sorry, I got 3 browser windows up. I want to make sure I got the right one. And for some reason, okay. On the, and these things are listed in the resource sheet that I sent you, but I just want to show you what to expect when you look at them. So this is on the Toastmasters International site, toastmasters.org. If you search for speech contests, it will take you to this resources for speech contests. So there's lots of interesting things in here. What I want to point out is, how did I get there? The speech contest rulebook is going to be one of the things everybody should read, the judges and you and the contest master should read, just so you know kind of anything, some of the more esoteric rules you may not have ever seen put into practice, but it would behoove you to know in case it comes up. For example, a couple of years ago, they changed a rule so that a later speaker is not allowed to refer to an earlier speaker's speech. You know, we do this all the time in our meetings, right? That's considered a kind of a more advanced feature if you can kind of modify your speech to refer to something that happened earlier in the meeting. But that really is an unfair playing field for the earlier speakers if you let that happen. So the rule is you can't refer to another speaker's speech. This is a new section that I think is really particularly helpful for us. They have a best practices for online and hybrid speech contests document. So read through this. This is where I found the stuff about the fixed focus camera that I didn't know before. So this is good for everybody to read through. It's what, 27 pages. So lots of material out there. Sorry, I didn't want to cough in your ears. And it'll just kind of refresh your memory, what kinds of thing you need to think about. And if you have any further questions you think of after this meeting, that may help answer the questions for you. Another thing you can look at on this page, if you start looking around, and I think I have that in the resource list, the backgrounds for your timer can be downloaded from here. There's a meeting up here at the top. There's a link for hybrid meetings. So lots of information out here. Poke around here. If there's anything you're thinking of that you might need, or you just want to get some ideas, go poking around on the toastmasters.org website. Another good reference is District 117 website. Okay, if you go here and go to D117 toastmastersdistricts.org, go to free resources. Let's see if I remember the right path to get here. Nope, that's not where I wanted to go. I just navigated here and I've kind of speech contest tools, made it easy. Here's where you've got all your dates. Eventually, all the dates, all the rules that the district has set up. This is where there will be a list of judges when they show up. Am I correct, David? When we get all our judges.
That is correct.
Yep, down here, list of approved judges for 2022, 2023. So yeah, any information that you need that you haven't found anywhere else, come here and start looking. So contest rules, got a link to the main contest rule book and so on. Lots of good stuff here. The other link that I'll tell you to look at is from the District 37 website. So a lot of the stuff that we had built up over the years when we were a combined district is still over here. So if you go to their webpage, d37toastmasters.org, go to events and programs, underneath that is speech contests. This is where you'll find things like that spreadsheet that I showed you. And I think there's scripts here. And probably I think on the D117 side as well. So there's scripts that the Sergeant at Arms can use, scripts for the contest master, and so on. And I think those are the main things I intended to show everybody. Let me see what so yeah, here's down here at the very bottom, what scripts can the contest master follow? And ooh, look right here, there's a trained judges database. Oh, no, they don't have it listed online yet. But that will probably come later. All right, that's pretty much what I had to go over with everyone. What other questions do you have? You're being awfully quiet. Everybody's all ready to go.
Honestly, the one of the things on my mind is that you said there's no budget for area contests. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work
One of
because
the, sorry, go ahead.
it's been years since I've been to any type of contest. Definitely nothing in the past 3 to 4 years. And the last contest I went to, someone, I wasn't involved in it, but someone had sat out snacks and bottles of water and soda. It probably was coffee and some kind of hors d'oeuvres and little sandwiches. I'm like, okay,
Well, Vera, I am sorry. Those days,
right.
there was a
They're
bigger district,
gone.
and
But that is what made it kind of a draw as well. I think people were wanting to show up and kind of socialize and, eat, drink, and be merry. And this, this
Well,
ain't
there
gonna
weren't
be,
those kind of drinks there, right?
no, but it's just,
One thing that had occurred to me is perhaps ask each club that's participating if
mm,
they could donate a little from their, either have somebody from their club bring something, or if they could maybe donate a little bit from their club coffers.
mm,
I haven't tried that yet, but that thought had occurred to me.
okay.
Aparna, you had a question? Was that a thumbs up or a raised hand?
Oh, neither. I'm just listening in and worrying about the budget myself.
Yeah, that is, I think the days of the overabundance, because there used to be a lot of wasted food at the contests and at the TLIs. There were just a ridiculous amount of food there for the number of people that showed up. And we should set expectations, that there'll be very limited refreshments or something like that. But I think people are, to some extent, desperate enough for an in-person meeting that we won't need to have the refreshments be the main draw like we might have had in the past.
Okay.
Fingers crossed, anyway.
Oh, and sorry to keep asking
No,
so
please
many
do.
questions, but I have been kind of going over some of the material, and don't ask me where I read this, but in order to participate in the speech contest, the participants have to be above level 2 at least in Pathways.
So for table topics, they just have to be a member in good standing.
Oh,
For international speech contests, they have to have at least completed 2 levels or a level 2, David.
2 levels, or they can be a DTM.
Okay. Ooh, so if they
the
if they
jump.
were
2 levels in Pathway or a DTM.
so if they had completed, for example, a CC or an AC
Previous
B in
to
the old
Pathways.
system, that doesn't
Got
count?
you.
There was an overlap rule for a time when
Not anymore?
Pathways was in its earliest years, where that was there were equivalents, but that rule has been broomed. That was deemed long enough ago that well, I gotta concur, because look, if you haven't done enough speeches in Pathways, what on earth are you doing in a speech contest? To me, that there's they want you to have a certain level of comfort with speeches if you're aiming to be in the world championship, after all.
That makes
So-
sense. Let's see what the rule book says here.
Yeah, you'll be one there. I think it mentions that
Okay.
you can be a DTM, or you have 2 levels 1 and level 2. There you
Yes. Unless you're a charter member of a club chartered less than 1 year before the club
go. Well,
contest.
yeah, that's some few clubs that's going to impact.
Yeah. Okay, and any of us who are area directors and division directors aren't eligible. We knew that. So,
But for table topics, you're saying anyone in good standing.
yes. Yep.
Correct.
Anyone, as long as they've paid up their dues.
Hi, this is Twani here.
Oh,
Yes, Carlene.
there's a question in the chat. I believe
Oh,
that's
yes.
no, but
So, I don't think contests are supposed to be free, both to
Yeah.
the, I believe certainly to the contestants, and I believe to the audience as well. Is that true,
The
David?
rule, I
Carlene?
believe, is that you can charge, but you cannot charge someone to be a contestant. That would be waived in their case. But I believe there's a rule a little earlier where
oh,
you-
let me see that, because yeah, we're
Okay.
Susan, for my poor old eyes, could you increase the magnification there? That's mice type to me.
It is kind of tight. There we go.
There you go.
I'm trying to figure out eligibility.
I think we could do that, right, David? Because that's what they do at the conference, the international
See what they-
conference. They charge the audience, but the contestants go free.
That's right.
Well, I think for what I'm trying to say is like not charging a fee for the attendance itself, but just if they want refreshments, they can make an option to let you know if they want to participate in that. So then you have enough refreshments for those that would like refreshments versus those that might not. Because then you eliminate the wasting.
Susan, I think you're way past it now. I think it was up near the
Well,
beginning.
I was kind of looking through there, but
Well, you could search on the word admission.
okay. I was trying to figure out what I would. Ah, there we go. Individual admission fees to a contest may be charged to attendees and officials. Contestants may not be charged. And clubs shall never be charged a fee to send a contestant to a contest. I think,
Well, Taranda, I think based on that rule, this would be admissible. As long, again, as you didn't charge any contestant.
Mm.
But then you've got the policing that certain people can eat and certain ones can't.
I would
Can you
also
deal with
worry
that?
about,
That's the little that's them bringing their little Evite slip, like their little barcode, and they get to go over to if it's face to face, they get to go over and get their refreshment when they first come in, that type of thing. So then it's organized and it's not just everybody showing up and just going when the refreshments are out and grabbing it, but more so if it's face to face, like as they walk in, they show their little slip of whether or not they get refreshment, they go ahead and get their refreshment and have a seat. And then those that elect not to, then they can just go and have a seat.
it might work. I'd be a little concerned about it, people if it doesn't turn people off to be,
All right.
it's, can just lay it out saying, look, we have no budget for refreshments. We'll provide,
Right.
a little bit or something.
Right. Yeah, $5, or not anything expensive, but just where we can have a collective amount that we can get refreshments for those that really want to have refreshments while they're there.
Might work.
well, another option too is again just invite folks to bring their own refreshment dessert. This is
That's true.
it's one of those
True.
BY what is
Yeah,
it?
BYOR, bring your own
Sure.
refreshments.
Right.
BY.
Or certainly like for something early in the day, tell people to bring their own coffee or something like that, because that's always a headache to try and bring. So maybe people would have their own to-go cup or whatever that they could bring. Before we go on, Dewani, I thought I saw your hand up. Did you have a question?
No, my question is answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Vera?
Yes, the certificates. Do we get like a pack of blank ones from Toastmasters International? We just fill out the name and whatnot?
You can buy them from Toastmasters, but there's also a packet you can just download and print out yourself. And at this point, the last thing I've seen on the Toastmasters website is that you wouldn't get anything in time anyway. I've been
Ooh.
having problems with their shop.
And you'd have to pay immense amounts of shipping.
Yeah, and the shipping would be
What?
ridiculous. So
Okay.
we've always
How
just
do we
printed them out.
go about? So how do we go about with the certificates? Do we make one?
Yeah, so there's a on that. Let's see if I can find it now without too much. Actually, I may have that in the resource list. Let me look at the
I think we
yeah,
can
I
use
have it listed on
Canva.
there. So it was if you'll get the best sorry, I can't scroll and talk at the same time. Where was the International Speech Contest Kit, for example? And then there was, come on. Here we go. Somewhere there were the forms. I don't remember now exactly where I found them. It says look on the previous page.
Is this link it that I just put in there, Susan? Is that the one you're referring to?
It could be. Yeah, it looks promising there. Oh, there we go. Speech contest. So yeah, there's first place. And it's just a form that you can fill in. You can change the font, anything you want. Yeah, so you got the forms here that you can print out. Fill out and print out. I'm not sure what it's first place, second place, third place. This must be participation. Yep. There we go. So ideally you have a certificate of participation for everybody. And then first, second, third place certificates for each contest. So I don't know if I've seen ones where they've filled out, they tell you what contest is. I guess it says right here. So you could put in for International Speech Contest area such and such, division such and such. Could go on this second line here. So
I'm guessing
something like this.
you're writing that in, or if you're typing that in and trying to print, then you need a place that has a print.
That is true. So what you could do is have the date, the presenter, you know, fill in some of the information ahead of time and print it out. And maybe if you have a friend who's good at calligraphy, or if you're good at calligraphy, you can put that in. It's also nice for the ones online to have it filled out and to display it. I've seen that done fairly effectively at times too.
In the name of the presenter, whose name do we put?
Usually it's the it would be, for example, the area director at the area level or the division director at the division level.
Okay.
David's looking concerned. Did I say that wrong?
Contest master would have been my preference, but okay.
I thought it was usually the
Oh,
presiding dignitary, but
The
Well,
area
signing
director
the
can do that
document
as well.
and the one handing the documents and photo ops might really be different.
I don't know if that will say in the
I
in the
think
handbook.
most
I'll
of
have to go look.
mine in my collection were signed by contest masters, but
Okay.
if not that, then the contest chair. It should be one of those two.
Okay.
Okay. So
Who
it's
might
the
be the same
contest master.
person.
Oh,
So
can it be the same person?
Yeah, why not?
Oh,
As long as the chief judge and the contest master aren't the same person, I think that's,
That would be difficult.
Yeah, when I was an area director, I was the contest chair, and I was contest master. Why not?
Oh, wow, okay.
There's nothing that says you can't.
Mm.
It's more
Okay.
work, but you could do it.
You don't have to coordinate between the contest chair and the contest master. All right, well, we are right at 8 o'clock. I'm happy to stay on as long as there are more questions or discussion going on. But I'm also